This is the plaintiff, Nicholas Stoddard. He says his son parked his truck in front of the defendant's house, and the guy had it towed. The truck was disabled. He was trying to get it removed, but the nasty defendant jumped the gun and had it towed away. The tow cost him $551.05, and he's suing the defendant for just that. Why? Because the guy refuses to reimburse him. This is the defendant, Joseph Carey. He says the plaintiff left his truck in front of his driveway, blocking access in and out of his house. So you darn tootin' he had it towed. The plaintiff needs to learn a lesson that parking illegally will have consequences, and that includes having to pay for a tow if you block someone's house. He's accused of not having any patience.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that his ex-wife's nasty neighbor illegally towed his car and he wants some reimbursement. But the defendant says the plaintiff constantly blocks his driveway and he's had it, so he got him towed. It's the case of you drive me crazy.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Stoddard, you're suing Mr. Carey for the cost of a tow because Mr. Carey had your car towed. Tell me what happened.
On 5 February, my son borrowed my truck. Well, actually, the day before, he had borrowed my truck, stayed the night at his mother's house. He had parked the vehicle close to the parking spot. He got out, realized
What is close to what parking spot?
So the parking spaces are painted, kind of squared off in front of it's a trailer park, so in front of his mother's residence. So he parked, got out, and realized he wasn't quite in the lines.
Okay.
This was late in the evening. He called me and said that the vehicle wouldn't restart. So I asked him, I tried to troubleshoot it with him a little bit, and then we couldn't figure it out.
So he was
So
trying to restart it in order to park it correctly?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Then as he was trying to restart it, he had put it in neutral and it rolled a little extra forward. So then he just put it in park, and I said, hey, I'll be by in the morning. Is it blocking anybody's way? Can they get out? Is it blocking the street? He assured me it wasn't. Then the next day he called me, my son called me about 10 a.m., asked me or told me that the vehicle had been towed. Then I started to investigate why it was towed, who towed it, tracked it down. Come to find out, the defendant called the tow company and had my vehicle towed.
Okay. And why was your vehicle towed? In other words, I can't call a tow company and say, hey, tow that guy's car. You have to be legally parked to get towed. There have to be some violation that authorizes the tow. You can't just say, hey, you know what? I hate my ex-boyfriend. There's his car. It's parked there. Go tow it. There has to be a violation. So what was the problem? Did you call for the tow, Mr. Carey?
Yeah, he was blocking my mailbox/driveway, and the truck was not even partly in the painted spots. There was a vehicle actually parked in the spots.
So he created his own parking space.
Exactly, and this is not an isolated incident. This happens constantly.
With that car?
That vehicle, yes, and this gentleman's other vehicles.
This gentleman, the plaintiff's other vehicles?
We have the pictures of his white Mustang later on that day.
Who has the white Mustang, Mr. Stoddard?
I own that, but I only use it to go pick up my youngest son from his mother, so I'm always there less than 10, 15 minutes.
Right, but how often are you going to park in front of the guy's driveway? I mean, he's kind of sick of it. Have you guys ever spoken about this?
Yes, my wife has messaged ex-wife, I believe, multiple times.
Multiple times. And what does she say?
That she's going to have him stop doing it.
And then he doesn't stop doing it.
Correct.
So did your son, when he, according to you, the car's, quote, disabled, all right? I presume it remained disabled after you picked it up after the tow, right? Mr. Stoddard? Mr. Stoddard and only Mr. Stoddard. So do you have any evidence that you fixed the car?
I do, yes, ma'am. I submitted a receipt for the starter motor that had gone out.
All right. Can I ask you a question? How old is your son?
He's 19.
Okay, why didn't your son knock on the door of the neighbor and explain the circumstance? Maybe you wouldn't have gotten towed if somebody had that courtesy.
My son, he isn't comfortable because he's had issues with Mr. Carey in the past.
Ah, the plot thickens. What were the issues that your son has had with Mr. Carey in the past?
I guess the kids, I don't know too much about this situation with them, but I guess the kids, the younger kids would be playing in the street, and excuse me, Mr. Carey, I guess he gets real irritated about kids playing in the street, so he's come out and yelled at the kids, yelled at my ex-wife.
Mr. Carey, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I have 2 kids of my own that play in the street. We have a basketball court in front of our house that my kids play in front of the street. They ride their bikes all the time.
So what is he referring to about confrontations with his children? Anything?
Well, the kids I know they have yelled at my wife. They've come on our property without asking. They've basically treated our property as if as their own. Like, we'll come home sometimes and they're walking out of our driveway.
So knowing that, why park the car there? And then it looks like an act of aggression.
He didn't purposely park the car there.
Well, he turned the car off. That's how the car turned off, and then it wouldn't start up again. So yes, he purposely parked the car. He parked the car in that spot. Why pick that spot? I guess was he partially blocking your driveway or entirely blocking your driveway, Mr. Carey? Partially. So you were able to get your car out.
I had to wake my wife up because we had a new car. I didn't want to take the chance of scratching it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
see,
yeah,
you don't get to partially block someone's driveway either. That's why I'm just not understanding. Did you ever write to the mobile home park and ask them for some guidance on any of this, Mr. Stoddard?
I did. I reached out to
Because you thought they're the
home.
ones who ordered the tow, right? That maybe Mr. Carey complained to them and then they ordered the tow, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
But that's not what happened.
No, I reached out to them. They said they were not aware of the tow. And to my understanding, it's if there's an issue with a parking violation, then the tenant is to reach out to the management, and they're the ones to initiate.
I don't see that
the
in
tow.
anything you handed me. If you're blocking my driveway, I'm going to call a tow company. He can't, I mean, in what world could he not call? So in any event, they actually answered you, the mobile home park, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And what did they say to you?
They did say that based off the picture that was provided, that
Pictures provided by whom?
one picture that was submitted was by Mr. Carey. I'm guessing he submitted that to the security company.
Okay.
But based off of that picture, they said it was blocking the mailbox. It was partially blocking a driveway, partially in the street.
Hold on one second. This is the Mustang, and this is actually whose car? That's Mr. That's your car, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Stoddard? And when was this picture taken, Mr. Carey?
That was when I was at work after the tow truck had picked up his truck.
So you block his driveway when you come the next time as well, Mr. Stoddard?
Your Honor, there's not a lot of space to move around there. I was actually trying to help my son.
No,
move the truck.
there are designated spaces, but we don't get as a society to say, it's really crowded here, so I'll just create my own. What is this a picture of, Mr. Carey?
That's where the truck was. So if you can't really see the lines.
Do you have a picture actually of the truck or no? Parked in the space? Is this it?
That is the one, yes, correct.
You know, I suggest you get along with the person if you're going to be hogging half of their or a quarter of their driveway.
And this is not the first time. It's constant. It happens constantly.
Yeah.
This is the first incident I've ever heard of.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Plaintiff says the nasty defendant had his disabled truck towed before he had a chance to get it fixed so he could drive it out of there. But the defendant says he couldn't get into or out of his house due to the plaintiff's truck blocking his access, and that's dangerous in case there was an emergency. Let's see what the judge thinks.
Please tell me, well, you were telling me what the mobile home park had said. What was it they said?
They did tell me, I don't have it in writing, but they did tell me that, they, based off the pictures, they wouldn't have had it towed. They would have just got a hold of the...
I'm sorry, you don't have that in writing?
I don't have it in writing.
You actually have in writing the exact opposite of what you're saying.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
provided it to me. It's the opposite of what you're saying is in writing because you're the one who provided it to me. The letter that the mobile park gave to you, you actually provided to me, which says, we understand your concern and confusion, blah, blah, blah. But after reviewing the provided attachment, it seems the vehicle was in fact in violation of community guidelines. It's clearly not parked in a marked designated community guest parking spot, which may call for immediate towing. The vehicle seems to be parked in the middle of the street without flashing hazards. which could then block oncoming traffic. The vehicle was parked in front of a mailbox, which may call for immediate towing. The vehicle had been unattended longer than 15 minutes. So they actually tell you the complete opposite of what you're saying. So what is your legal grounds to have him pay for your towing that your son richly deserved, according to your evidence? Why would he have to pay for it?
Your Honor, my issue is that it's not the tenant's right to call and have somebody else's vehicle
Prove
towed.
that.
Like there's.
Prove that. What you just said. Prove that.
Okay.
No, I need you to prove it. I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, you're right. I can't prove that. I don't
Okay,
have
verdict
anything
for
right.
the defendant. And let me suggest that you and yours stop doing this. If you don't have a parking space, you don't get to park. That's what happens when all the parking spaces are taken. Or you have to park a little further and walk. But you don't get to block his driveway. He gets to call and get you towed and cost you $500 every stinking time you do it. So don't do it. It's simple. Follow the rules the rest of us have to live by.
So the plaintiff fails to get the defendant to pay for that $551 tow. He's going to have to pay it himself. Mr. Stoddard, you heard the judge. You better watch where you park. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. She's right. I accept her verdict.
All right. You better tell your son, the same thing, too. So wise up. Mr. Carey, I gather you don't feel bad at all about having him towed, do you?
That's not that. It's a reoccurring thing. I'm tired of it. I didn't want to have to do it, but it does. They keep doing that. So, I mean.
All right. Well, most people would feel the way you do, I think, probably. So here's forewarning that if he does it again, you'll do it again, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Open and shut case here.
Doug, I'm going to say it again, short and sweet. This was a case where pictures made a huge difference. Pictures to prove your case.
My neighbors have a dangerous tree. I've let the 3 different owners of the place know. The tree drops big branches on my property and the entire thing is leaning my way. If it falls because they don't deal with it, will they be responsible for any damages since they've been told about it?
Yes. Because that tree, even if it's not diseased, may have a dangerous condition, which is that it is leaning over towards your property and potentially putting you and yours at peril because of the lean. So long as you have an arborist who can testify to that, who will say, yeah, this is going to come down in the slightest of winds, it's not, I think that you're in a very good position. Now, when you say, since I've told them, hopefully you've told them in writing because
people have a funny way of
forgetting what you told them.
Amnesia about being told stuff when
their
sued
wallets
for
are involved.
Right.
Exactly. So
of course, it is possible if you end up in a real dispute about this that they have their arborist who says, yeah, it's leaning a bit, but it's a healthy tree. That doesn't mean it's going to fall over.
No, not every leaning tree is a problem. So there's leaning, and then there's leaning. So it really depends. It's a matter of degrees, literally. So it really does depend on what we're talking about, the degree of the leaning and the danger, and that you can prove both notice and the fact that it's dangerous.
Sure. Okay, we are out of time. Before we go, you can check out our podcast. You can check out our YouTube channel. You just can't get enough court these days. That's the way I see it. See you next time.